question for you. What is it that makes you do what you do? What is it that makes you do what you do? What do you do to get out of bed in the morning? What is it that compels you? Hunger? Thirst? Yeah, that too. Nature calls. What is it that creates within you relationships? What is it that's underlining that helps you go to work? Why do you go to work? Or what do you do? Or to do that again, what is it that causes you to do what you do? When it comes to work, is it because you like doing it? Or is it the money? Or you're good at it? Or it brings you enjoyment? That's why you do it. That's why you get up in the morning and in the cold morning and head out to work. Or perhaps it's just a rewarding thing to do in life. Ask a pastor and you get the famous and same line every time, I was called. Oh, come on, there's got to be a better reason, a more involved reason. I hope you were called.
Let's hear it.
Because I love to do it. To meet such gracious and wonderful people. But yes, there's got to be a reason why we do the things we do. And Paul had a reason for doing the things he did. Going through the things he went through. When you read through Acts and see all the hardship that Paul endured, and yet he did not give up his preaching. He even said that he did not accept any money, that he did it for free, and that he had a job, a tent-making job that sustained him, and he boasts about that he would not accept any money. Don't look at me like that. I'm not going to do that.
He also said the worker deserves his wages.
But that was one of Paul's boasts, that he'd done it for a special reason. And so I want to reread a little bit of Paul's letter to the Corinthians that we read this morning, and just to refresh your mind a little bit before I go on further. If I proclaim the gospel, this gives me no ground for boasting, for an obligation is laid on me. And woe to me if I do not proclaim the gospel. For if I do this of my own will, I have a reward. But if not of my own will, I am entrusted with a commission. What then is my reward? Just this, that in my proclamation I may make the gospel free of charge, so as not to make full use of my rights in the gospel. For though I am free with respect to all, I have made myself a slave to all, so that I might win more of them. To the Jews I became as a Jew in order to win Jews. To those under the law I became as one under the law, though I myself am not under the law, so that I might win those under the law. To those outside the law, I became as one outside the law, though I am not free from God's law, but am under Christ's law, so that I may win those outside the law. To the weak, I became weak, so that I might win the weak. I've become all things to all people, that I might by all means save some. I do it all for the sake of the gospel, so that I may share in its blessing. There, that's why Paul did it. For the sake of the gospel. Simply put, Paul was doing it for God. Can we say that about our work? Oh, Pastor Nick is doing it for God. I know he is. But are we doing everything for God? In everything we do in life, are we glorifying God? Is God being glorified in our bodies, in our actions, in our words, in what we say, do, eat, everything? Are we glorifying God? You know, we have this limited time on earth. It's limited and it's fleeting. So, are you doing what God wants you to do? Through you are people blessed and loved. Are you showing your love to God through your life? Many years ago, 60 Minutes did a report on a nun named Sister Emmanuel. Sister Emmanuel was getting close to retirement, and she fell on her knees one day and prayed to God that He would send her to some desperate spot on earth. Be careful what you pray for. He did. Sister Emmanuel ended up in the poorest slum, the city of Cairo, Egypt, in a place called the City of Garbage. This is the name of a suburb of Cairo, Egypt, where live the people who collect Cairo's garbage. They not only collect the garbage, they live in the garbage, eat the garbage, salvage all they can to use for whatever shelter they could make. They are the most despised people in Egypt for more than being filthy, but they also raised pigs in the garbage, which is a detestable animal to all Muslims. Into this desperate situation came this retired nun to live with the garbage people, to love them, to teach them and their children a better way of life. Did she accomplish this? Did she succeed? Yes. For there are now schools, the government is funding a better and providing better housing. Many lives are immeasurably improved. And no wonder she succeeded with the name Emmanuel, God with us. And the people truly believed that the presence of God was with them. Sister Emmanuel died in 2008. What was her reward for this amazing work? It wasn't an earthly one. I can guarantee you that. She lived as simply as the people to whom she was sent to serve. Sister Emmanuel was 79 years old when she done her interview with Diane Sawyer on 60 Minutes. Diane asked Sister Emmanuel if she thought about death. She points to a picture in her room of the angels hand in hand dancing. And she said, one of these days they will offer me a hand and I will dance into the kingdom of heaven. Considering what Sister Emmanuel went through, I think we have life very good here in Saskatchewan, even when it's cold. And it's sad that we hear about the homeless that do not have shelter from the cold in our cities. So what drives people like Sister Emmanuel and St. Paul? What drives them to do such unbelievable work? And another question, what is it then that you are working for? Perhaps just a few of you remember way back in the 70s, the rock group Led Zeppelin. And they had that number one hit song that was the most requested song in the 70s. Stairway to Heaven. About a woman who thinks her happiness lies in money, and she is convinced that money and material possessions are a pathway to true happiness. Yeah, she thinks that money will build a stairway to heaven. Does anyone remember how the song starts? There is a lady who's sure all that glitters is gold, and she's buying a stairway to heaven. But it never works. It never worked out. It never does work out. No matter the amount of material possessions and all the gold in the world, that stairway will not open up to you. Surprising, though, that song in 2003 was voted the number 3 on the 100 best rock songs of that time. What is it that motivates you to do what you do? Money, fear, admiration by others, perhaps power. One of the most powerful motivators is winning respect. Respect from your coworkers, respect from family, respect from neighbors. How about one word that I haven't included yet? Are you doing what you do out of love? That was a strong motivator for Paul. The man that endured beatings and suffering and discrimination from his own Jewish people. A man who endured beatings and discrimination and anger from the newfound church of Christianity. People who were always pointing the finger at him that he was doing it the wrong way. However, Paul became this strong missionary that took the gospel to almost the very ends of the known world out of love, compassion. And he was proud that he could do it on his own terms, through the will of God. As he said, was not doing it for money. If it wasn't money that motivated him, there was only one thing that could, and that was love. Love for God, love for other people, love for the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's what motivated him to preach the good news of Jesus, even to those that rejected him, slandered him, beat him, and threw him in prison. I have become all things to all people, says Paul, so that by all possible means I may save some. Save some. I do all this for the sake of the gospel, that I may share in its blessings. Share in the blessings of God. The same blessing that he was giving the people, he considered that he was receiving back. Yes, there's only one motivating factor that should be in the hearts of all Christians, and that is love. Love for God and love for other people and love for Jesus Christ, the gospel. Paul ends 1 Corinthians with these words, "Do all things in the spirit of love." That's why Paul did what he did. That's why Paul got up in the morning and headed out on a journey. He was filled with the desire to care for people any way he could. Yes, he loved Jesus deeply. Do you? Do you love Christ? Do you? Do you love Christ so much that you would prioritize your work and do your work and live your lifestyle that shows the people around you the light of Christ? Is it possible in our world to do that? No one has to ask why Paul preached the gospel or where he gave God his courage. His whole life was focused on loving God and loving people. And you could tell Paul was alive. But it's sad today to say that sometimes the only way you can see if people are living these days is that they're breathing or moving. Yes, he stood up to any obstacle. He broke through many barriers and sacrificed everything for the sake of knowing God and sharing God with others. He found absolutely joy in doing what he did. For Paul, that was really living. And that's what God wants for us, to enjoy life, to live life to the fullest through him and for him. No, we all can't become preachers and strong, famous evangelists. But the question is, whatever you're doing, is it reflecting the love of Christ? And no matter what you do, are you proclaiming Christ in your work, in your efforts, in your relationships? Just by being who you are. Might be hard at times in some circumstances. But God is with us. And God will give us the strength to do that. To be the beacon of light in a very dark world. So when someone asks you, what makes you do what you do? I hope you will answer, for the love of God.